Fine. So this is going to be the first session. You can treat as a demo session or first session. So it's all about Oracle supply chain management training. When you talk about Oracle supply chain management, what course curriculum you are going to cover and how the training would be delivered, everything we'll be discussing in the today's session. Before that, I'll take you through the few slides which will talks about what is the Oracle, what is the Oracle application. Here you could see I mentioned the demo agenda for today discussions. So first we'll talk about what is the meaning of Oracle. Once we understand about the meaning of Oracle, we'll talk about what is the meaning of Oracle applications and what does it mean by Oracle SCM applications, and we'll see what are the different product families we have within the Oracle applications, and I'll take you through few details what defines the ERP and what are the different versions available within the Oracle applications and what are the prerequisites say eligibility for someone to do this course, and what would be the Oracle functional consultant role in the organization. That could be any functional consultant, and we'll talk on how the training would be delivered and what sort of learning methodology you have to adapt to acquire this knowledge, and finally we'll talk about what are the opportunities in the market for Oracle SCM consultants. Once you complete this course, you can apply for the job as Oracle SCM consultant. We'll talk on these points more detail level. The very first point is what is Oracle. When you talk about Oracle, it's very simple. It's a leading database in the market. Okay, Oracle is one of the leading database in the market. And other side, you could say Oracle is the company name. Yes, the Oracle is the company name. With the same name, they introduced the database in the market, and they became very popular in the market as a database vendor. So there are many applications which uses Oracle as a database to store the data, whatever the data is processed with the help of those applications. The applications can be used to process or input the data. Whatever the data they input within any application, the data would get stored in the database. Of course, they may not use application also to store the data. We'll see those points also. The simple point we have to understand what is Oracle. It's simple. Oracle is leading database, or say Oracle is company name. So what Oracle stands for? Oracle stands for, the O stands for Oc, R stands for rich, A stands for automatic, C stands for computer, L stands for logical, E stands for engine. So Oak Ridge automatic computer logical engine. That's the meaning of Oracle. So you can say here simply automatic computer logical engine. That means it will compute logical operations automatically. That sort of mechanism we have as a engine. So it's a kind of process which computes logical operations automatically when we are dealing with the data. What is this Oak Ridge? So Oak Ridge is the laboratory's name what the company used to develop this product, that also included within the name of Oracle. Okay, so this is the meaning of Oracle, Oak Ridge automatic computer logical engine. That is the stands for Oracle. Fine. So we talk about database. What database consists of? database, within the database we can store the data. When we are storing the data should be stored in a certain format. If you want to store the data in a certain format with more meaningful way, ideally we maintain the data in the table format. Most of the databases, but not all, most of the databases will hold the data in the database with the help of tables. We'll have a tables. Whatever the data you want to store in the database, will maintain the tables. Within the table, the relevant data we can maintain as per our requirement. Very simple. You are doing some sales activities. To store the sales data within the database, we have to have one table called as sales table. Sales data we can store in the sales table. If you are doing the purchase activities, to store all the purchases related data, you can maintain one table. The purchases related information you can store in the table. All the suppliers, with which suppliers you are dealing in your organization to purchase something or to take some services, if you want to store all the suppliers data in the database, you have to maintain the separate table called as suppliers table so that you can maintain the data in that table. Now if you notice these few points, database is only one. Within that, different sets of data we are going to store, but separately with the help of database tables. Not only just separate, in the suppliers table, what are the suppliers data you are going to store, that suppliers data also you are going to store separately, one supplier different from other supplier. That's how you are going to maintain with the help of the rows and columns which would be part of table. In any database, if you are going to store the data, that will happen with the help of tables. Table consists of rows and columns. So that's how the data would be segregated and maintained in the meaningful way within the database tables. We are not discussing all the databases have concept called as table. No. There are few databases, they don't follow the concept called as table. Those databases will have a different concepts like dimensions or something else. Okay, the most of the databases follows the concept called as tables. When I talk about Oracle database, yes, the total data what we store in the database that can be stored in the tables as a rows and columns. Fine. So now the point is how to store the data in the database. Yes, there is small organization, they are doing the business, they are doing the sales, purchases, they are paying, they are receiving, they are doing many activities across their departments. When you talk about organization, definitely the organizational activities can be divided into different departments. Okay, to simplify the process and to manage very effectively, that overall organization processes will be divided into different departments. Every department will have their own function. That means every department will do their separate job. So when they are doing the activities respective to their department, if the data need to be stored, if the data need to be stored in the database, how to store? The very early days, what happened is, if there is one database, if they want to store the data in the database, sorry. So if they want to store the data in the database, we have to write some instructions. We have to do the programming. So say this is a database. Within this database, say you have one table called as sales table. What are the sales you perform within your organization, that data you want to store in that database table called as sales table. If you want to store the data in the table, you have to write the instruction to database saying that these so-and-so details, we sold so-and-so item to so-and-so customer on so-and-so date with this amount, this much amount customer has to pay on so-and-so date, and where we supplied that material and where we send the bill to that customer, all the sales related information. If you want to store in the database, there is no other option in the past. Only the option is you have to write the instruction. You have to write the instruction to database saying in so and so table please store so and so data. That's how you have to write the instruction. So when you talk about writing the instructions to database, every database knows one language called as SQL, structured query language. However, the people knows language called as English who are in the IT. In the same way, every database knows one language called as SQL. So we can interact with the database with the SQL language. We can interact with the database with the SQL language. If you know SQL language, you can interact with the database saying this data stored in so and so table. Please show so and so data from so and so table, or else show so and so attributes. Attributes means may not be total entire record, it may be just a specific record, or within the specific record very specific information you may request the database to display. So that's how you can interact with the database by using the language called as SQL. SQL, structured query language. If you want to interact with the database, we have to use some tools. Okay, we have to use some front-end tools. This tool will be connected to database. Then you can write here query. You can write a query saying that show so and so data from so and so table. If you write some instruction, if you write query to database, since you are going to write that query within the SQL language, the database can understand and it can respond to that query. It would show the result as we requested. That means we can use the database to store the data in the database, right? We can use the database to store the data. When we store the data in the database, we have to use the language called as SQL. That means to deal with the database, we should know the language called as SQL. If you know the SQL language, you can store the data in the database and you can view the data, you can modify, you can do any sort of activity, any sort of operation. Simply we call it as operations. We can do any sort of operations. It could be finding the data, which data we have in which table and how much data we have, what is any sort of calculations also you can perform by knowing the language called as SQL. Okay, so the simple point is how to store or how to retrieve. Storing means yes, it's all about we'll save the data in the database. Retrieving means we can fetch the data from database and we can see. Apart from these two operations, any sort of operation, if you want to delete the data from database or if you want to modify the data from database, to do any kind of activity against the data, we should know the language called as SQL. This is the point we have to understand. So that's a very difficult job, right? So that means interacting with the database is a very difficult job. Everybody should know the language called as SQL. So if you take small organization, they have to deploy the people to store the data, to manage the data in the database who knows the language called as SQL. If the organization is going to hire the people to work on the database, to store the data, to manage the data as per the requirement, they have to pay high salaries, because if the organization is going to acquire the people who are SQL experts, they have to pay high salaries. Okay, they have to invest a lot of money in that scenario. Okay, so that's how it would cost more for the organizations to manage the database. Okay, where they have to get the SQL experts to work on the database. So that is the reason the best option is, instead of directly dealing with the database, this is how the forms are developed. Okay, this is how the forms are developed. If you look at this form, it has set of fields. The form is Oracle purchase order form. It's an Oracle form. It could be any form. Okay, this form is developed by Oracle, so we are calling it as Oracle form. It could be any form which will have a set of fields, so that what user can do is user can enter the data directly within these forms. User can enter who is the supplier, what is the supplier address, okay, what we are going to purchase, and what is the price, the required information that totally depends on what the user is doing in the organization, what is the responsibility of the user, what sort of information the user has to store in the database. Based on their need, they can enter the data in the relevant field. Once they enter the data in the respective form, simply they can save it. Okay, simply they can save the data. The moment the user will save the data, this data will go and sit in the relevant tables. So take this example, purchase order form. Once you enter the information within this form, the data will go and sit in this database tables. Once user will save the data which is entered within the form. That means what Oracle did is, Oracle developed these forms. The forms are connected with the database table. This form related to purchase orders. Within the database, they created one table called as purchase order table. This form they connected to the table and they written the programming saying that once user enter data in this, the moment user click on save, the data should go and store in the database. So that's how Oracle simplified storing the data in the database. So before forms, user has to write the SQL statements. User has to write the statement so and so data should be stored in the so and so table. Again, within the table, within so and so column, so and so data need to be stored. It's a very difficult task, okay, to manage the database in terms of storing the data, retrieving the data, or any sort of operations against the database. After introducing the forms, the job is very easy. We don't need SQL experts to store the data in the database. Once the form is ready, if the form is developed by the respective developers, okay, the user who are going to work on the application, they can enter the data in the form, the data can be stored in the database. That's how the process is simplified. Okay, the data can be stored in the database with the help of form. Without knowing the SQL language, any user can enter the data in this form, the data can be stored. That means that if the person knows the language, the form is available. It could be English or Arabic or it could be anything. When a client is going to take the license for this product, they can choose the language also. By default, this would be available in English. So if the user knows specific language, the form is available in which language, so they can enter the data, they can store the data in the database even they don't know SQL language. Okay, so this is a point we have to understand. This is how simply we can store the data in the database. And here, what is the meaning of Oracle applications? So basically the set of forms. Okay, the set of forms. Say for example, purchasing department. If you take department called as purchasing, the purchasing department performs different activities. I taken here few snapshots. So purchase orders, receipts, and suppliers. So these are the different activities need to be managed by purchasing department. Okay, the purchasing department is responsible to manage the purchase order. They can handle the requisitions, they deal with the supplier, and they may record the receipts, or else receipts can be managed by inventory department. Okay, so the set of forms which can be used by specific department, that you can call as application. Okay, when you talk about again application, the one point is set of forms. When you enter the data in this set of forms, the data will go and store in the database. Okay, whatever the data you are entering in the different forms, the data should go and sit in the database. When the data is available in the database, if any user wants to see the data, say for example, how many purchase orders are created, what is the details of those purchase order, one user wants to see, one employee wants to see the data. To see that sort of information, we have a concept called as reports. Whenever you enter the data by using these forms, the data will get stored in the database. If you want to see the same data with the help of reports, you can see whatever the data you are entering in the purchase order form, that will go and store in the database. If you want to see the single purchase order, yes, you can get the data into this form and you can see. But if you want to see multiple purchase orders, and maybe you want to see the purchase orders which are created in this entire month or last 1 week with some sort of condition, ideally we go for reports. By using the reports, you can view the data which is available in database. So when you talk about any application, we are not talking about specific application, any Oracle application. So combined will have a combination of forms, database and reports. The combination of a set of forms, reports and database, this only we call as application. If the applications are developed by Oracle, we call as Oracle applications. So since the applications, these forms are developed by Oracle, so the forms are connected with the database to store the data, and whatever the data is available in the database, if you want to retrieve and see, we use the reports. So this combination we are calling as application. Since these all are developed by Oracle, we are calling as Oracle application. This is the meaning of application. Now let's talk about what does it mean by supply chain management. What does it mean by supply chain management? So it's all about supply. Okay, supply. Okay, supply means if there is customer, if they have demand, we have to supply them. If we are going to act as a supplier, say we are into sales. When we are into sales, definitely who are going to purchase from us, they will treat us, we are the suppliers, we are the vendors to them. So when we are going to supply to our customers, what chain of activities we are going to manage? Which chain of activities? The activities which are connected in the process of supplying the material, or say goods or items, whatever. So whatever we are going to supply to our customers, to supply that material or goods or item, what activities we are going to perform, which are framed as a chain of activities. To handle all those, we have to follow the process called as supply chain management process. We'll just look into this more detailed level. Okay, supply chain management we simply call as SCM. SCM stands for supply chain management. What are the supply? Whatever we supply to our customers, that supply related chain of activities we can manage in specific process. That process only we call as supply chain management. Fine. So when you talk about supply chain management, definitely if you want to supply something to your suppliers, customers, you should maintain the stock. That means we should have an inventory department. When we have inventory department, we can maintain the stock. If any customer is going to request us for any material, yes, the stock which is available in the inventory, or call it as warehouse, we can supply to customers. So within the what inventory department do? The inventory department maintains goods and goods, or you can call as material, maintains all the stock. There could be inflow and outflow of the material within the inventory. So you are maintaining the stock within the inventory. If your organization is going to purchase, say your purchasing department is purchasing something, once the purchase department purchase something, that has to be stored in the inventory only. That means the material comes into inventory department. If your sales department is going to supply some material to some customers, definitely that has to move from our warehouse only. That is outflow. So when I talk about inventory department responsibility is maintaining the stock. And when they are maintaining the stock, how the material they can get into inventory. When we are purchasing, yes, there will be inflow of material, will get into the inventory. When we are selling, there will be outflow of the material. Okay, we have to move the material from inventory. When you purchase, we have to take the material inside of warehouse. So in between inflow and outflow, whatever the stock is available within the inventory, we have to maintain in more meaningful way. So what points we have to understand when we are dealing with inventory department, we'll discuss more detailed level going forward. Okay, the simple point is In the supply chain management process, we have to deal with the inventory department. Inventory department will come into the picture to maintain the stock. That is the point we have to understand. The other point is, yes, when we are going to supply the material to our customers, there could be need of purchasing the material that is not available within the inventory. So for that purpose, we have to keep in touch with the purchasing department also. The purchase department will help us to get the material into organization if there is any shortage. Say we received order from our customer, when we check the quantity availability within the inventory, say stock is not available, out of stock. In that case, we have to request the purchasing department to purchase the required material. Okay, how soon we required, or as per the schedules, whatever we have to supply to our customers. So purchasing department will help us to get the material ready to supply to our customers. So that's how we can understand why purchasing department is required in supply chain management process. The other department is sales department. This is a very key department. When you say supply chain management, yes, so when you are into sales, then only there would be need of supplying the material to the customers. So what sales department do? They involve in the sales activities. They'll supply the goods, and sometimes the sales department can involve in providing the services also. Okay, primarily goods, and there could be need of, that totally depends the what business and what business functions, business activities they are doing. Accordingly, it could be supplying the goods or providing the services. But let's take example of goods. So sales department plays very major role as a part of supply chain management. So any orders from the customer will be received by sales department. They check with the quantity, they check with the stock availability within the warehouse. If stock is available, then the sales department will promise to the customer as they are going to supply the material. If no stock is available, they'll make a plan to get stock into the inventory so that they can supply as per the customer expectations. I mean that by which date they are expecting the stock and where they are expecting. There are many other parameters should be considered when you are supplying the material to the customers. So these are the three departments we have to understand. The first department is warehouse, inventory department, where we maintain the stock, and purchasing department, if any shortage within the warehouse to supply the customers, with the help of purchasing department we can get the material into inventory. Once stock is available, yes, sales department can have a communication with the customer to ship the material to requested location. They are the three key departments which will involve in the supply chain management. Very primarily, we have to understand inventory department and the sales department. When the inventory department and the sales departments are going to involve in the supply chain management process, definitely the purchasing department should be there to support, to fulfill the inventory needs. Inventory needs in the sense stock. If stock is not available, the purchasing department will get the stock so that the sales department can involve in the sales activities, since stock is going to be available with the help of purchase department. Okay, so this is a point we have to understand. There could be some scenarios where instead of purchasing and selling to the customers, instead of purchasing from the suppliers and selling to the end customers, the organization itself, they can have a manufacturing unit. They may manufacture products and they may get into inventory, and finally that material can be delivered to customers. In that scenario, we don't need some purchasing department to purchase the raw material. In this scenario, we may require purchasing department to purchase. Okay, I mean, in this scenario, inventory department is going to get the material from manufacturing unit. If they have a manufacturing department, if they are going to manufacture the products, in that scenario, inventory will get the finished goods from the manufacturing unit. That's how they can supply directly to the customers. So in this scenario, we no need to purchase any finished goods from with the help of purchasing department. When manufacturing department is going to manufacture some finished products, definitely we need to purchase raw material. Okay, we have to get the raw material into organization. With the help of raw material, finished goods can be manufactured by the manufacturing department. In that scenario, we may require purchasing department to purchase raw material, not finished good. But that's a different scenario, but very standard supply chain management process. We get the material, we purchase, I'll maintain in the inventory, and will sell to the customers. Okay, this would be very basic and standard supply chain management process. If organization is going to manufacture, instead of purchasing, once manufacturing is done, that will receive into a warehouse. From there, we'll supply to customers. Fine. So that's what we have to understand about supply chain management. And here I just mentioned the same: purchase department, inventory department, sales department. What purchasing department does, if they do the purchases, that means they buy the material. What inventory department does, inventory maintain the stock. Which stock they maintain? The stock which is coming into inventory. Maybe because the purchasing department is purchasing the material from the supplier, so that stock may come into inventory department. So inventory is responsible to maintain the stock. Once stock is available, the sales department will involve in the sales activities. The sales department will take the responsibility of selling the material to customers. So what purchasing department will do, if there is any shortage within the inventory department, the purchasing department will purchase the material from suppliers. So purchasing department will purchase the material from the suppliers, then will get the material into inventory. The sales department will sell the stock to customers as per the customer request which we receive. Okay. So here these are three departments which are primary departments which will involve in this supply chain management process. Very primarily inventory and sales department, these two, but definitely the inventory should take the help from purchase department for out of stock situations. Fine. So purchasing department is going to work with the suppliers to get the material. The sales department is going to work with the customers to sell the material, right? Fine. Now the next point is, yes, we have these three departments. This department is involving in the purchasing activities. This department is involving in the stock maintenance. The sales department is involving in the sales activity. When the purchasing department is going to buy the material, who has to take the responsibility of making the payment against that purchases? The payables department will take the responsibility of making the payment against whatever purchasing department is going to buy from the suppliers. So purchasing department is going to buy the material from suppliers. Then that information they will pass to payables department. Then payables department will take the responsibility of making the payment. The same way, when sales department is going to sell the material to the customers, the sales department will inform to receivables department saying so and so customer we sold so and so material. Then receivables department will take the responsibility of collecting the payment. Once they get the payment from the customer, they record the same as a receipt. Okay. So purchasing department, whatever purchasing department is going to purchase, for those purchases, payables department will make the payment to supplier. Whatever sales department is going to sell to the customers, from the customers, receivables department will receive the payment. This is the point we have to understand. Fine. Now out of all these departments, these three we are considering as a supply chain management, but it has a connectivity, it has a communication with other departments also. So payables department and receivables department. Primarily this payables and receivables department falls under financials, because here the payables department is dealing with the finance, money, payment. Receivables department is dealing with the cash. Receivables department is collecting the payment from the customer, to which customer sales department sold material. So the receivables department and the payables department, these two departments falls under finance departments. Why we are calling as finance? These two departments are dealing with the money. The payables department is making the payment, receivables department is receiving the payment. Receivables department is receiving from our customer, payables department is making the payment to our suppliers. So that's how these two departments are finance departments. The rest of these three departments falls under supply chain management, SCM. Okay. So sales department will supply the material to customer based on their requirement. For that, definitely they need the stock within the warehouse. If stock is not available, the inventory should take the support from purchasing department to get the stock ready within the inventory so that sales department can do the sales activities. Here the point is simple. Sales department will get the order and they'll check with the stock availability. If stock is available, the sales department will promise to the customer as they are going to supply. If stock is not available, inventory will have a communication with the purchasing department to get the stock. Then purchasing department will follow the process of purchasing the material by raising the requisitions, okay, the quotations, RFQs, purchase orders, receipts, etc. They'll involve in the relevant activities. Finally, they'll get the material into inventory. That material will ship to the customer. It's sort of chain of activities we are going to do: getting order, checking with inventory, if stock is available, just promising to the customer and delivering the material to the customers. I mean to say, once stock is available, we'll pick the material from the warehouse for maybe packing purpose or to load into trucks, and then that material should be delivered to customer location. If stock is not available, so that request goes to purchasing department. Purchasing department will take the initiative of purchasing the material by contacting the vendors. So this is sort of chain of activities. It will just keep repeating whenever there is order, the same process it follows. That is the reason this we are calling as to supply the material to the customers. We are going to manage the chain of activities across these departments: sales, inventory, and purchasing department. That is the reason these three applications primarily falls under supply chain management. Fine. Here, what are the activities you are going to do in each and every department to manage that department related activities? Oracle developed applications. So what we do within the payables department? Already we discussed, the payables department will take the responsibility of making the payment. That means the payables department should make the payment against the purchases which are done by purchasing department. For that, we have an application called as Oracle Accounts Payable. By using Oracle Accounts Payables, we can process the payments against any supplier, what are the purchases we did. So along with the payments, we have to record the invoice also. That will discuss more detail level. Now the simple point. So based on this slide, whatever we discussed will correlate with this. For payables department, for any organization to manage their payables department related activities, we have an application from Oracle, that is Oracle Accounts Payable application. With the help of Oracle Accounts Payable application, they can record the invoices, they can process the payments to the suppliers. So purchase department, what purchasing department does? The purchasing department will involve in the purchasing activity. Which activity exactly they do, that we'll go and discuss. Okay, we have time to discuss those points. Now very high level I want to walk through so that you'll get some basic understanding about supply chain management. So whatever the purchasing activity purchasing department does, all those activities can be managed by using application called as Oracle Purchasing. This Oracle Purchasing application is developed by Oracle for the purpose of purchasing department. That is the reason the application name they given as Oracle Purchasing. Okay, by using Oracle Purchasing, you can record different transactions. Which transactions we can record, anyway we'll discuss. So inventory management, inventory department, they'll maintain the stock primarily. There will be a number of activities they'll do as a part of inventory department. All those activities also can be managed with the help of Oracle inventory application. Okay, what are the activities need to be carried out by inventory department? All those activities you can record in Oracle inventory application. So for inventory department, Oracle built one application called as Oracle Inventory. This can be used by inventory department. The same way sales department involved in the sales, recording the sales orders, booking. There are a number of activities which are related to sale. So all the activities can be managed by using the application called as Oracle Order Management. By using the Oracle Order Management application, whatever the sales department does, all the activities can be managed within this Oracle Order Management application. Receivables department. What receivables department does? We discussed. Once sales department perform the sale, so receivables department is responsible to collect the payment. Once they receive the payment, that they record as a receipt. So not only recording the receipt against the sales invoice also will be managed by this receivables department. We have a detailed discussion session on this each and every department. We have a concept called as P2P cycle and O2C cycle, where we are going to discuss very detailed level how sales process can be executed across the different department, how purchasing process can flows across the departments, each and every department level, what activities we do in very much sequential level, how those flows by following the sequence, how that activities can flow within the department or across the department. Everything we are going to discuss very detailed level. Okay, everything we are going to discuss very detailed level. So here we are just trying to understand very high level. We are trying to understand very high level. So this is the point we have to understand. So for payables department, we have an application from Oracle called as Oracle Accounts Payable. For purchasing department, we have an application called as Oracle Purchasing. For inventory department, we have an application called as Oracle Inventory. For sales department, we have Order Management application. For receivables department, we have Oracle Accounts Receivable application. This is how we have a number of applications from Oracle. Now we take a simple example to talk about this supply chain management and where it is connecting for payment and receipt. The simple points we taken here. So here we are able to identify five departments. For those 5 departments, we have 5 applications. That's how Oracle have around 300 applications, close to 300 applications, which will support different enterprise needs. Fine. So here these 3 applications falls under our supply chain management. These 3 applications: Oracle Purchasing, Oracle Inventory, Oracle Order Management. So with the Oracle Purchasing, you can purchase whatever we need in the organization. The Oracle Inventory, you can maintain the stock. With Oracle Order Management, you can do the sales activities. That's it. We'll see more detail level going forward. Okay, we'll just move on to next slide. So these are the Oracle SCM applications. The first 3 are primary applications. Okay, the first 3 are primary applications. Oracle Inventory, Oracle Purchasing, Oracle Order Management. These are 3 are primary applications. Depending on organization process, if organization is going to involve in some manufacturing activities, so these additional applications also we can use: bills of material and work in process. Okay, these 2 applications we can use in the manufacturing process. So we have a different type of manufacturing and how those are different, and those points we'll discuss more detail level. Let's focus on these 3 key modules as a part of SCM. But in our classes, in our course, I'll be covering this bills of material and work in process also along with these 3 applications, so that if you are going to work for any client who implemented or who wants to implement bills of material and work in process, will be able to support. Okay, so as a part of supply chain management training, we are going to cover these 5 applications. Not only these 5 applications, very primary, the core applications are these 3. Along with those 3, we are going to cover the configuration and how the process works within these 2 applications also. And along with these 5 applications, we are going to cover P2P and O2C cycles. What does it mean by P2P and O2C? You will understand maybe in the next session. We'll plan those discussions in the next session. That means along with these supply chain applications, we are going to learn the basics from finance also, because these departments, or say these applications, will have a communication with those finance application. If you take example here, okay, here our purchasing department is going to have a sort of communication with the payables department. Here sales department is connecting with the receivables department. That means there is communication between these 2 departments. So when there is some communication between these 2 departments, we should understand what happens within this department and what activities can be carried out within this department. Some basic level we have to understand. That is the reason, along with our supply chain management applications, we are going to cover the basics from required financials applications. Okay, so almost we discussed the same points. As a part of Oracle inventory, we can maintain the stock, the same you can call it as item or goods, everything is same. You can call as we maintain the stock, or we can maintain the items or goods, etc. And within the Oracle inventory, we can record the receipts. Whenever we receive the material into inventory, we record the receipts. Not only just recording the receipt, there are n number of transactions which we record depending on the business scenarios, which can be managed within the inventory department. What are the different activities we do within the inventory department? All those activities can be managed by using Oracle inventory application. And by using Oracle purchasing in short we call as PO, inventory we call as INV, Oracle purchasing short name is PO. Within the purchasing application, we maintain the requisitions, we create the requisitions when we have a requirement, and we'll place the orders to suppliers to purchase what are the material we required. Not only these 2, there are many other activities. We'll discuss more detail level. But just to address very high level, I just mentioned very few points. So by using the Oracle purchase, what Oracle purchasing does, it's more related to raising the requisitions and to placing the order to suppliers when there is need of purchasing within the organization. When we talk about Oracle order management, this we call as OM, order management. Here we manage the sales orders. Here we create the sales orders. Whenever we get the orders from the customer, that would be recorded in the order management as a sales order. If at all customers are going to return the material back to us, that will record as a returns. There are a number of other activities also which you can perform within the order management application. We'll see all those when we start working on the respective application. The other application is Oracle bills of material, we call as BOM, BOM. So here when you are going to manufacture something, say you are going to assemble the car. Okay, when you are going to assemble the car, what are the spare parts are required, all you can create as a bill. It's a bill in the sense the list of components. If you want to assemble the car, you need some list of components which are required to assemble the car. That sort of collection of what we can say, if you take example of car spare parts. Okay, the same way if you take something which you are going to assemble in the point of manufacturing, that basically falls under discrete manufacturing, not process manufacturing. Okay, so to manage this discrete manufacturing, so we can use the bills of material. So we'll be working on that. Just I mentioned bills, it's nothing but, so if you are going to assemble something, what list of material or spare parts you require, all you can create as a bill. And work in process we call as WIP, WIP, production management. Say you are going to manufacture something or you are going to assemble something, So that process is standing at what stage? The complete assembling process or manufacturing process, say it is going to be executed in the 5 steps. Those 5 steps or 6 steps, how many phases you are going to complete that assembling process or manufacturing something, those you can define and manage by using the work in process. How that manufacturing is getting progressed. Okay, whatever you are going to manufacture, whatever you are going to assemble, how that is going to be managed, what phase that is standing, what is the next step, what is the completed step, everything you can manage by using the work in process application. As of now, you no need to focus on this too, but we'll be covering in our classes. Primarily, let's focus on these 3 applications. Once we're done with these 3 applications, yes, we'll start working on this bills of material and work in process. For now, you no need to understand what purpose we use these two. Once we understand these 3 applications, we'll have a better understanding to work on these 2 applications also. Okay, so this is a point we have to understand. So we are talking about SCM, supply chain management. Along with the supply chain management, there are many other product families. So these 3 applications are going to involve in the supply chain management. When you are going to supply to manage the chain of activities, these 3 departments are going to involve. So for each department we have applications. So these 3 applications primarily we are calling as supply chain management applications. In the same way, we have a different product families as a part of Oracle applications. We have Oracle Financials, the General Ledger. GL stands for General Ledger, AP stands for Accounts Payables, AR stands for Account Receivables, CM stands for Cash Management, FA stands for Fixed Assets. So just don't think I'm just reading and I'm moving forward. The points, whatever you see, just for introduction. From next session onwards, I'll be taking you through very detailed level what is the meaning of GL, AP. We'll write and we'll discuss what exactly the department do. Everything we'll understand. Not only just supply chain management. When we are working on supply chain management applications, the other applications which are connected with the supply chain management applications, what level of knowledge we require, we should grab it. So that is the reason I'll be covering the other applications also which are required along with the SCM applications. So this is one of the product family which we call as financials, the set of applications which are related to the primary process of finance. We are calling as financials. The applications which are involved in the supply activities, okay, those we are calling as supply chain management applications. And the other product families, human capital management, or you can call as HRMS, human resource management system. So where the applications related to the people maintenance, HR, payroll, talent management, it's all about to deal with the employees. Okay, and in the same way we have other product family called CRM, customer relationship management, which has set of applications. In the same way, Oracle projects, the Oracle projects also has set of applications like project costing, project billing, project management and all. That means here applications also classified into product families. By classifying the forms which are related to specific department, applications are built. If you take example of purchasing department, what activities need to be done by purchasing department, accordingly Oracle developed required forms. By grouping all those forms which are required by purchasing department, okay, they built application called as purchasing application. Within the purchasing application, you can see all the forms which are related to purchasing department. By grouping the forms, we can build the application. By grouping the applications, we can maintain the product families. The application should related to some very relevant process. So that's how these all are different product families. In other words, when you are learning these, simply you may call it as these are the different courses. Oracle Financials is one course, Oracle Supply Chain Management is one course, Oracle Human Capital Management is one course, Oracle CRM projects are the different courses which are different primary business processes within the organization. Fine. So this is what we have to understand. And we have a few more other points to address. So as a part of course agenda. So far, any questions, please? So any questions from anyone, please? What are the points we discussed on the same? Any questions from anyone, please? Any questions? Okay, no questions. So we discussed about what is Oracle applications, SCM applications, and the different product families. Now let's try to understand what is the meaning of ERP. Okay, ERP. So say here we have purchasing department and inventory department and sales department and payables department and receivables department. There are many departments, but we don't need all those departments to discuss and to understand the meaning of ERP. Sales department. The sales department received order from the customer. When sales department received order from the customers, they have to check stock availability within the inventory. That means this department should have a communication with the inventory department. So the sales department will speak to inventory department. If the departments are next to next, yes, somebody can go to inventory department from sales department. They can ask them, do you have stock availability? We got order from so and so customer. We need 1,000 quantity so and so item. That's how they can make an inquiry and they can get the information. That sort of communication they can establish. So if stock is not available, yes, inventory department will inform to sales department saying stock is not available. In that case, sales department request for stock to keep ready by so and so date as per the customer requirement. In that case, since stock is required in the inventory department, definitely this inventory department should have a communication with the purchasing department saying that we need 100 quantity of so and so items by so and so date. Now inventory department should have a communication with the purchasing department. Then purchasing department should initiate the required steps to get the material into inventory. And again, that purchasing department should have a communication with payables department saying we purchased so and so material from so and so supplier and we promised we could pay within 10 days. Please take the initiate. So that's how the purchasing department will have a communication with payables department. Fine. Once material is available within the inventory, sales department will supply the material. They'll do the sales activity. The finally sales department should communicate with the receivables department saying we sold so and so material to so and so customer. Please follow up and collect the payment. In the same way, if sometimes if purchasing department is going to purchase the asset for the organization, the purchasing department will communicate with the payables department saying we purchased one computer to use in the office, not to maintain in the inventory to sell to customer. The different scenario. So we need one computer within the office. In that case, purchasing department will purchase and finally they will place in the office. But the purchasing department should inform to payables department as they purchase the computer from which supplier, so that the payables department will take the responsibility of making the payment. If the purchase is related to asset, that information need to be communicated with the asset department also, so that they will maintain the asset details That means this payables department should inform to asset department saying that there is one asset purchased and we process the payment to the same, or else it may not be the payment you may not process, but still there should be communication to asset department as there is one asset purchased in the organization. So this is how there should be communication between the departments. So when you are going to maintain different applications for each department, for inventory application, right? For inventory department we have Oracle inventory application. For purchasing department we have Oracle purchasing application. For account payables department we have Oracle accounts payable department. For assets we have Oracle fixed assets application. For sales department we have Oracle order management application. For receivables department we have Oracle accounts receivables application. So when you have a departments, however the communication is required, in the same way to manage that department related data within the product, across these applications also communication is required. So Oracle order management, this application need communication with Oracle inventory. Oracle inventory application need some sort of connectivity with Oracle purchasing to have a relevant communication. In the same way, however departments will have an interaction, the same way these applications also should have an interaction. Here instead of calling as interaction, this we call as integration. Since these are applications, integration we call. Okay, all the applications should have integration, which will establish the communication. And again, so these applications, when these are going to have a integration, and other side, what are the data you will be creating across all these applications. Okay, so you take any application, it could be purchasing application or inventory application, all these different application data will be storing in single database. These are the different applications. The different applications will be storing the different data, right, from all the applications. Okay, so it could be order management and it could be Oracle accounts receivable. So how many departments we have? All the departments data will maintain in the single database, and all the applications will have a integration connectivity. This sort of software products we call as ERP. Okay, ERP stands for enterprise resource planning. Okay, ERP stands for enterprise resource planning. Enterprise resource planning. So here, what is a resource planning? When you talk about resource, so one of the resource is inventory. Material is one of the resource. In the same way, there are many other applications. If you talk about HRMS application or HR application, there is a separate application called as HR application, which will be managed by HR. Okay, within this application you can manage the people. Okay, people also one of the resource. Okay, that means enterprise resource planning. The resource can be your material, the resource can be people, nothing but man, and the resource can be money, okay, which will be using in your finance application, or else the material, the resource can be machinery, which will be using in the different business processes. That any sort of resource, it can be material or men, or it could be money or machinery. It is any sort of resource you can plan and you can manage very effectively by using this sort of applications which has integration, and where all the applications data would get stored in the single database. Even if these applications we are going to use in the different countries also, you may use the same applications in 100 countries, still the total data can be stored in the single database, and you will be able to have a communications across these applications. Okay, maybe within the country or across the countries. This sort of products we call as ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. It's a very key advantage of ERP products is, so there can be communication between the application. Say when we are working for order management, since Oracle inventory has a integration, connectivity with the Oracle order management. If I am going to create the sales order, simply I can see how much stock is available within the Oracle inventory when I am working for Oracle order management. That is possible. Okay. So whatever items you are maintaining in the Oracle inventory, those you can access from Oracle purchasing when you are creating the orders. So whatever the data is available in Oracle purchasing, based on that you can create the invoices within the accounts payable application. Whatever the data is available within the accounts payables, with the data you can create the assets and the fixed assets. Okay, so that's how, instead of going with the duplication of the data, what you could do is, with the help of the ERP products, you can automate the process. And whatever the record you are creating in the initial stage, that how that has to be turned into further records to execute the process. Everything can be automated. You can avoid the duplication, and with a more controlled and secure manner, you can execute the transaction process within and across the application as per the organization requirements. Okay, this is what we have to understand what is the meaning of ERP. There are a few more points also. So we have a sessions on that related to multi-org structure and all. There I'll be addressing few more points which you should understand. But these are very basic points to understand. The ERP products only will have an integration between the applications. Application you can call as module also. Module is the technical term. Okay, so these all applications has a integrations, so that data can be passed across this application as per the requirement of the application, what data that application is required to execute the process effectively. And since these applications has a integration connectivity, we no need to go with the duplication. So whatever the data is available in an application, if the same data is required by another application, that would be available, since integration is already available between these applications. Other point is, all these application data will get stored in the single database. Okay, the data would get separated and maintained in the single database only. The same way, if you are going to use this ERP, so the single product you can use for multiple countries. Since product is single, so you will be able to store the data in the single database. So you taken the license from Oracle for ERP product for specific applications. You implemented for 100 countries. The 100 countries data also would be available in the single database, so that if you want to do any sort of operations, any sort of reporting, or there are many things where we will be doing when we are dealing with the data, all will become very, very flexible, and it would add a lot of advantage in terms of organization processes. That is the meaning of ERP. Any questions on this, please? To understand the same, any questions from anyone, please? Any questions from anyone? Okay, if you you don't have any questions, we'll move on to another topic. So we discussed about what is ERP. Now we'll see the versions. Okay. So go to the sheet. Fine. When you talk about versions, the current version, whatever we are going to work, which is related to EBS, is, see here, EBS. EBS stands for E-Business Suite. Okay. EBS stands for E-Business Suite or Suite, you can call. So E stands for electronic. B stands for business, S stands for suite or say e-business suite. So the applications what we are going to have, those will be part of this EBS only. Okay, the product name is Oracle EBS. Within the EBS only you could find all these applications, the financials, SCM and other applications. So this product, the current version which we are going to discuss is R12. R stands for release 12. Okay, let's say we call as release 12. So prior to release 12 we have 11i. 11i, within the 11i, I stands for internet. Okay, internet. I stands for internet. So that means the application which is available from Oracle that can be used through internet. So based on that capability, they named it as a 11i version. Okay, so these are the versions, 11i version, and what we are going to discuss, that is the release 12 version. So this 11i version is outdated. Now no more Oracle is going to support, and Oracle is not giving the license to any customers since they have very much stabilized version called as R12. Simply you can say R12. So the course what we are going to deal now is Oracle, within the Oracle EBS, E-Business Suite, R12, with R12 version we are going to deal with the SCM. This is going to be Oracle EBS R12 SCM training. Okay, so 11i is outdated. Earlier, if it, in case of 11i, this we call as Oracle EBS 11i SCM. But this version is outdated, it's no more. Okay, so now we are going to learn Oracle EBS R12 SCM. Fine. So remember these versions, the older version, outdated version is 11i. Now whatever we are going to learn, that is release 12. Okay, within the release 12 also there are some subversions that we'll discuss once we get into the application. As of now you can understand it's a release 12. We are going to learn EBS release 12 SCM. This is the point we have to remember. The other point is prerequisites and eligibility. Okay, it's very simple to understand. When I talk about the prerequisites and eligibility, it's very simple. Anyone can learn this course. So irrespective of educational background, when you go for interview, they'll see whether you have basic any bachelor degree or not. They'll check. If you are okay with that, the next and very important point what they focus is your product knowledge, how much you are good at the product. So if you are going to learn this SCM applications, tomorrow when you go for interview, they will check the level of knowledge which you have. They are not going to focus much on your academics. Yes, definitely they'll see the minimum you should hold any degree. The bachelor degree is a minimum qualification to do this course, or almost any software course. But if you have masters, okay, that's well and good, but minimum any bachelor degree would be enough for this sort of courses. When you attend the interview, only they'll check not your degrees. Okay, the basic qualification they'll check whether you have a bachelor degree or not. The next very important point, they'll check you are okay with the subject or not, you are okay with the product or not. You may have a good degrees, but you are not okay with the subject, nobody is going to hire you. So that is a point where we have to focus. So that means we have to acquire enough knowledge on this product so that it would be easy for us to get the job on this applications. Fine. And next point is Oracle Functional Consultant. After learning this course, you will be called as functional consultant. You will be called as functional consultant. Again, functional consultant means what? Again, you will be working as which functional consultant? Whatever you are learning, you will be working as that relevant functional consultant. If you are going to learn SCM, so you will be working as Oracle SCM functional consultant. If you learn Oracle Financials, you will be called as Oracle Financial Functional Consultant. If you learn projects, Oracle Project Functional Consultant. That's how we will have a role in the organization. What functional consultant would do, irrespective of area. It could be SCM, or it could be finance, or it can be HRMS or project CRM, doesn't matter. What functional consultant would do. So when you talk about the roles, okay, when you talk about the roles in any projects, ideally when you are going to work for any this Oracle applications projects, typically you can find roles like one is functional consultant, the other role is technical consultant, the third is DBA, and thirdly project manager. They are the key roles you can find out in any projects. So very important role and resource in the project is functional consultant only. The functional consultant can do the implementation. Okay. So what are the, for which product the client is going to take the license? Okay. So there is one company called as XYZ company, they are running the business, they want to use Oracle applications. In that case, so as per their business requirement, to keep that application ready, the functional consultant will take the initiative and they'll execute the entire process of implementation. So when you are going to work as a functional consultant, what you should learn? Okay, as a functional consultant, if you want to become a functional consultant, what you should learn? Okay, what you should learn, what you should do when you are working. As a functional consultant, you have to learn the product. Okay, you have to learn the product. So when you are learning the product, you have to learn a simple, you have to learn the any product. First you have to understand the concept. We have to understand the system setups. You have to understand the system process, and you have to understand the reports what we have in the application, and before that say accounting. It's not a bigger part when you are dealing with SCM, accounting and reporting, or say reports and the basic SQL. Okay, I'll be covering, if I take 1 or 2 classes, that is more than enough for you. Maybe one session is enough to understand the basic SQL and the basic few tables you have to understand. Okay, this is what you have to learn from this course to become a functional consultant on SCM. If you want to work as SCM consultant, you have to be okay with the concept. Theoretically, you have to be okay. Whatever we are going to learn, I'll be explaining theoretically, very detailed level. You have to understand the concept. Tomorrow, if somebody is going to ask you the same concept, you should be able to present. That's very important. When you are doing this sort of functional courses, you should get ready with the presentation. It may not be presentation all the time. You should be able to speak out. Okay, if somebody is going to ask you, what do you mean by Oracle SCM? That's it. You should get ready with some content to talk about it. If you know what does it mean by Oracle SCM, that's not great enough. If you are going to present, okay, SCM stands for this, these are the modules we have, these are the applications we have as a part of supply chain management, this is the purpose of each and every application. If you are going to explain, so that's what any functional consultant role is required. And in our classes, first you'll be learning the concept, the theoretical you have to understand, then how to set up the system. Once you understand the concept, that we have to implement within the application, so that we call as system setup or system configuration, how to do that, what is the purpose, why we are doing so and so setup in the system, we'll discuss more detail level. Once system is ready, we have to understand the business process. So what payables department do, okay, how they do everything you have to understand. Based on the transaction, how accounting would result, from where system would take, where we provide the accounting information, you have to understand. And for purchasing, what are the key reports we have, and inventory, order management in the different applications, what are the key reports. Or if you are interested, you can go through other reports also. I'll show you, I'll take you through all that information. And sometimes whatever the data is available in the database, you may have to query. Even the data is available through reports and forms. Still there will be cases, I'll explain detail level when you are working on it, why we have to know SQL basic queries also. Hardly one session is enough for us. I'll introduce the basic SQL statements or say commands which we require when you are working as a functional consultant, and the tables, that could be base tables or interface tables, and the integrations between the applications, which applications will have a integration with the other application, what purpose, what data flows. These are all points. Not only this, there are a few other miscellaneous points also where we have to focus. Integrations, there are a few other points also where we should take into consideration when we are doing this course. This is everything you are going to learn. Okay, once you are okay with that, whatever you have to do as a consultant, yes, you will be able to do it. That I don't need to list out now. When we talk about the real-time implementation, how it takes place, what would be our role once, how the project kickstarts, what are the different phases we can find as a part of project, what are the different type of projects we have in the each type of project, what would be our role, what we have to do, everything we will discuss. Okay, everything we'll discuss. So technical consultants, what they do is primarily they'll do some, if something is not available what customer required, they will create it, that we call as customization. Okay, the technical people. So whatever Oracle is providing as a product, say Oracle is giving application called as purchasing application. When we are implementing that application for our client may require one additional form. In that case, we'll ask the technical people to create that form, that only we call as customizations. And there are a few other activities also. If I start talking about that, you don't get anything from those discussions. So better we can avoid those points at this stage. Once we start discussing about implementation process, there by the time you will come to know many things, so that it will help you to understand what we are trying to understand by that time. So that you don't need to we don't need to focus on those areas what technical consultant will do. So primarily they do the customization. If something is not available within the product which is given by Oracle, that can be created by technical people as per the client requirement, that we call as customizations. And this technical people can involve in the data conversions also. This is just, it's all about moving the data to Oracle applications from previous applications. If some company is going to use Oracle applications, before that they should use some other application, right? So they are using, say for example, Tally or Focus or being some XYZ third party application. So from that application they are moving to Oracle application. In that case, the data which is available in that other application, the total data we have to move into Oracle application, since we are going to implement Oracle application. The process of moving the data from the third party application or say previous application to Oracle application we call as data conversion. Please don't try to understand this point, not required for now. Okay, so DBA, what DBA will do, whatever the product we are taking from Oracle as a license, the DBA will do the installation. Okay, DBA will be installing the product in the server. They do the patching, cloning, and many other activities. Let's not get into those points which will confuse us in this stage. That is not required. Now you don't need to focus on that. This all I'll be covering as a part of implementation process. We should understand there are few points. Even we are not going to do those activities, we have to understand. Whatever the technical consultant is going to perform, yes, those are very much required for us to understand, because we will be involving in this technical consult related activities being a functional consultant. That is the reason we should understand. So DB also, there are certain points which we have to understand. When you talk about project manager, the manager is responsible to just to control and monitor the project related activities. Okay, so who can act as a manager and how the reality you could see in the market, all these points will be discussed in more detail level. Now these are the primary roles you can see in any projects, but the functional consultant role is very key role. Okay, very key role. So as a functional consultant we have to be in the project from beginning to ending, but technical consultant is not required. They'll come in between, they'll just leave from the project in between most of the cases. Why and how we'll discuss more detail level. So now when you are doing this course to become functional consultant on SCM or finance or take any area of application, these are the points where you have to focus on. Theoretically you have to be strong. Anyway, you are going to learn the concepts, all the concepts you are going to learn, and we'll discuss theoretically. The same you have to get ready from your end. And system setups, it's all about system configuration. To use any application, you have to keep that application ready by doing the setups. Once the application is ready, we can record the transactions that we call as a process, how the transaction flows, how it works. We'll understand what are the accounting takes place when you perform certain transaction. This is what we are going to see. And what are the reports Oracle is providing for each and every application we'll go through. And I'll take you through how to write the SQL queries if you are not aware of SQL queries. Anyway, we'll have a session, and tables, integrations, few other miscellaneous topics also will be covering throughout this course. If you learn all these aspects of this course, you would be ready to work as a Oracle SCM functional consultant. Okay. So this is what we have to understand about this. The other point is training and learning methodology. When I talk about training, I'll be writing each and everything within the spreadsheet. So whatever we are going to do in the application, I'll be writing within the sheet. And again, whatever you are going to see in the classes, the same approach you can follow when we are working for any client within the project. I'm not going to manage this training by showing some existing data and all. When we are going to do the fresh implementation, how we do in real time, the same approach I'm going to adapt into these training sessions. So if you can go through all the classes, and if you get ready from your end, think you would be ready to work on any project. And I'll be covering each and everything. Theoretical, I'll be explaining what are the setups you have to perform when you are working for any project, I'll explain each and every setup and what is the purpose and what aspects we have to understand when we are doing something. Everything I'll be addressing as a part of classes, and I'll be recording each and every class. I'll be sharing with everyone so that you can play once again if required. And other side, anyway, everything I'm going to write in the spreadsheet also. The same sheet I'll be sharing with everyone. You can go through that sheet and you can use the sheet for quick reference. When you are practicing an instance, you may use the sheet, or else just you can go through and you can as a quick reference you can go through that sheet. Apart from the sheet and recording videos, I request and suggest everyone to write a note. When you attend the classroom training, what approach will follow? We'll have a notebook and we'll be writing each and everything. A running class note will be writing. So same approach you can follow even if you are going to attend these live classes. If you can write whatever we are going to discuss, that you can use for quick reference. Since you are going to write, that is very much, so I mean, it's a convenient information for you. The way how you address in the note based on your understanding or what we are discussing. If you can write in your own words, that really will help you for quick reference. The best thing is whatever we are going to discuss and whatever we are going to do in the classes as a part of system, everything please replicate into note, so that will help you. That will become big asset throughout this learning. Anyway, you'll be getting the sheet and videos, but think that is very important for you. And whatever you are attending, whatever the sessions you are going to attend, that can be concept related, system setups or process or anything. Read and remember. You have to read till you remember. Tomorrow if somebody is going to ask what is this, what is that, you should be ready with that answer. It's not only just knowing, you should be able to present, you should be able to speak out if you know the content. If possible, when you are doing this course, if you have a resource, I mean to say somebody is available where you can give the presentation to them, you can do it, so that will become good experience for you. So today you attended for class, you can find someone maybe who is free or busy. You can ask them, okay, today I want to explain what is Oracle SCM. If they say so, okay, try to give the presentation. So after your presentation, while you are giving presentation, you'll come to know how you are doing, right? You can come to know other side, they'll give you the feedback. You ask them the feedback, how is your presentation? The same you can implement for throughout this course. Definitely you can find someone who can help you by attending your presentations. To attend your presentation, you can find the people. So try to do that. So tomorrow when you go for interview, if somebody is going to ask the question, so just you can get the flow of explanation since you are giving the presentation. Otherwise, you are doing this course, you are going to attend the interview first time, you practiced and you gone through that note, you prepared, you read and remember everything, but you don't have practice of explaining. That may be first time for you when you go for interview. There you will fail. Even you know the content, you may be good at in all the aspects, but since you are lacking with the presentation, you may fail to crack that interview. That is the reason the presentation is also very, very important. Okay, try to spend time on the presentation. Once you complete one class or two classes, make a plan to give the presentation, take the feedback from them, and say you may be good in the communication, but you may be good in the subject. When you are giving the presentation, definitely will be lacking. You may struggle to present something which you know. So that is the reason the practice will really help you. That will create the good impression when you attend the interview. Even they feel comfortable, yes, this guy is able to explain with more confidence and with good flow of explanation. That's what every company look for, that sort of profile people companies are looking for. So if you can meet that level, definitely they'll select you. Otherwise, even you know the good stuff, you know the product, and if you are not able to present, you will start forgetting the points which you are ready to present also, and you will be losing the confidence. This is how you will be losing the interview also. So that is the reason, once you start with the course, better you can start with the presentation. Before presentation, make sure that you are ready with the content. Without knowing content, if you start with the presentation, no use. You have to be okay with the content. Once you are okay with the content, start with the presentation. The presentations you can give concept based presentation, system related presentation, process related, and everything. Once we get into the course, I'll be just talking about those points, how to view the presentation on which area, so that the same you can implement. That's how you can get ready, you can complete this course. So easily you can crack the interview after going through these classes. So even I'll set that as my target also. If somebody is going to attend these classes, whatever the target they have, even I'll be setting the same as my target. Okay, so that's how we can work on it. I mean, like, I'll set that target in the sense accordingly I'll be taking the classes. The classes should be very much useful for you. So after completing the course, I know your target is getting the job. Accordingly, I'll be planning, I'll be sharing the knowledge which you require, how the product is, what areas we have to focus, what we should learn. I'll be taking care of everything, because when you are attending these classes, you may not be aware of what you have to learn. You might have suggested by someone, go and learn SCM, Oracle SCM. That could be information for you, but reality, you are not very sure what you have to learn to get a job. Not only just getting the job, to survive also after getting the job. So these points I'll take care of. To get the job, what you have to learn after getting, to survive, what content, how much knowledge you should acquire from these classes, that I'll take care of. But you have to focus on the learning in all these aspects. You have to spend more time, read and remember, and practice multiple times, and try to give the presentations. Don't take it light. The presentations are very important. That will save you when you go for interview. Not only at the time of interview, after interview, when you are working in the project also, the presentations what we are going to give at the time of learning, that will help you a lot and lot. Otherwise, always they'll find you as a fresher. Done. So that's all about the learning methodology you have to adapt. And career opportunities, yes, since you are going to choose one of the best ERP in the market, that is Oracle ERP, from that you are going to do this Oracle SCM course. So no doubt you can find the opportunities everywhere. If you are trying for job in India, yes, you can find. If you are trying for job in the Middle East countries, easily you can find. If you are trying the job in US or UK or some other countries, easily you can find the job. It's not it's not a just a small product where it is there in specific country and all. Since the product is owned by US company, so it is there everywhere. So you will find plenty of opportunities. Only the point is you have to get ready with the product knowledge. That's it. Rest of things are not counted that much when you try for the job. Only the primary focus should be on product knowledge. You have to learn this product thoroughly. It would be very easy for you to get the job on this SCM. Okay. So this is the agenda for today. In tomorrow's session, we'll talk about the very detailed purchasing process and sales process, so that we can understand what activities we do as a part of inventory purchasing and other applications which are connected with our SCM applications, what we call that flow, etc. We'll discuss, so that we'll get into some theoretical understanding, very high level. So after that, there are a few more other points we have to discuss and understand. Once we are ready with that, we can get into the application. We'll feel very much comfortable after understanding all these points when we start with the application. Otherwise, without discussing and understanding very important points which you have to know, that will give you some confusion. So I'll take in very sequential manner what how we have to. It's not like in our course we covered so and so. No, we are going to cover everything, but how we have to drive that learning, I'll take care of. Okay, that's all for today. If you have any questions, please. If no questions, we can wind up for today. We'll connect tomorrow same time. We'll discuss about the procurement process and sales process, and we'll move on other topics in further classes. Any questions from anyone, please? Any questions? Anyone, please?
No question, LAXMAN.
Okay, great. Fine. What about others? I think they are good. Fine. We'll connect tomorrow same time. Okay, and we'll have a second session, and we'll discuss if you have any questions on today's session. If you have questions on today's session, yes, you can ask in tomorrow's session also. Okay, that's how we can take up the questions. Okay, thank you all. Have a good day and good night. See you tomorrow. Thank you.